Prime Stars, Prime Stars. Prime Stars, Prime Stars, Prime Stars. Now you listening to Prime Stars, Prime Stars.
Good job, Spike! You're now listening to Low Wave Productions. 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 You're now listening to Low Wave Productions.
Hey yo, my bad, Steve.
What's going down, everyone? Let me grab my headphones quick. Shout out to everyone in the chat. The chat was pretty lively and pretty motivating today, so I appreciate seeing that. Shout out to all of you once again. I do have a couple quick announcements before we jump into today's session. The last one was amazing, so I assume this one will be amazing-er. And of course, this is interactive, as you know. I mean, most of you in the chat are regulars, so you know how this goes. So ask questions. Couple announcements. Something that I'm more excited for than the Grammys is the BeatStars Award. It's the first annual BeatStars Awards show. www.beatstars.awards.com. Vote for your favorite producer in all categories. All the nominees have been announced, and you can vote up until December 25th at 11:59 p.m. And the live award ceremony, it is a live award ceremony that goes down on January 10th, 2020. So mark that on your calendars. I'm certainly going to be tuning in for that. Shout out to everyone who nominated me. I appreciate that. And then also, BeatStar. I was talking on the podcast today with Dame about platforms and, you know, how there are best practices with each platform. And, you know, granted, with Facebook, if you want to learn more about ads, Facebook has resources. OnlyFans, they have resources. I just learned that the other day. BeatStars has resources, BeatStars has opportunities, BeatStars has interactive summits, and it's all free and available for people. And so another such opportunity from BeatStars, which transcends platforms, is the Duet Beats TikTok page. So you can submit your beat to be featured on the Duet Beats TikTok profile. And all you have to do is go to www.beatstars.com/opportunities. Submit your beat. It does have to be free download enabled, so keep that in mind when you submit, but it's another opportunity. And of course, we're talking about selling beats. And in order to really sell beats, we have to understand our market. And who better to, I didn't mean to feature that. That looks like a bias. Who better to speak to about how to refine our marketing strategy, our approach, our communication than with our target demographic, which is recording artists. And I have brought back, I'm really happy to have them with me, Jaelynn and Lucian Parker. Good afternoon.
Hello.
What's going on?
Okay, everyone looks good. Everyone sounds good. Thank you again for being here. I know last
Absolutely.
time we broke
Thank you
the
for
internet a
having me.
little. Oh yeah, no, of course. You the two of you are stuck now in the BeatStars
Yeah, we're locked in.
live MEC family, so
Love
you
it.
can't escape at this point. So what's new? What's been going on since the last time we spoke?
Who you want to start with? Lucian, you want to take it?
Oh, you can go ahead.
Okay. Um, really just creating. I just made another track that came out this past Friday, featuring one of my friends, Blez. He's awesome. It's called Amnesia. So I just finished that track up, and I think I did one other one actually since we spoke. So just put out two tracks and just working, grinding.
Fire, yeah. I'm pretty much doing the same thing. Just wrapping up a EP right now, getting ready for January 2021 to roll over. So we're kind of just getting ready for the new year, going through our the catalog that we've recorded over the last, 12 months to 18 months, and kind of just starting to finalize tracks, finalize release schedules, rollouts, get, cover and graphic arts ready, graphic art ready, and things like that. So getting ready for rollout season. So we're pretty excited, and we're gonna hit it hard we're gonna hit it pretty hard in 2021 for quarter one. So
Nice.
So let's just jump right into the controversy. Last time, we had a couple pretty controversial moments. I don't think they were controversial. Other people do. Some producers were actually frustrated and expressed their frustration, a small minority, about the whole beat format conversation last time. So basically you said, and I think both of you agreed on this, if the beat is too short or isn't formatted in a way that makes sense, you might skip it and choose another beat that is formatted in a way that's right for you. And there were some comments about how lazy it is for rappers to not reformat the beats themselves, or how rappers shouldn't expect the beat to be formatted for them in the first place. The whole rift between rappers and producers to me has always been really silly, because you have producers on the one hand spreading, the memes that mock rappers for not paying for beats. And then you have rappers posting comments like, I don't pay for beats, or if I buy a beat, the producer doesn't deserve any royalties. How do we heal this rift? It's completely unnecessary. What are some ideas you might have to, really fill this gap between us? Because there shouldn't be one.
Okay, I think I'm gonna start with this one because actually I had some feedback. I just had conversations with other people that I work with regarding the exact same thing. And just to go back to that, when calling, rappers lazy for not wanting to go and format it themselves, it's kind of like the same concept. If you're looking for something in particular and you don't know how to sew, and you go shopping and you find something that's pretty close to what you want, but you were envisioning something else, do you take it home and sew it? If you're not good at sewing, you're probably just going to keep shopping until you find something that fits what you were looking for in the first place. A lot of the time, I think producers mistake artists as knowing how to do those things. Like sometimes, like when I first started, for instance, there would be no way I would have any idea how to even do that. Like I didn't even know what stems were when I first started rapping. I just knew that I needed a beat that matched what I wrote, that would, go with what I was trying to do. So I think it's a lot of miscommunication. It's a lot of thinking that somebody knows something that maybe they don't. I don't think it's necessarily that we're trying to be lazy. It's that a lot of the time we don't maybe know how to do that. Maybe we're too embarrassed to say that, like, hey, I would love to be able to take this beat and do this with it, but maybe I just don't know how. Am I required to know how to do that in order to buy your beat? You know what I mean? Like, it's almost insulting, like, in a way to us, you know, or to me personally. So maybe just look at it like that. It's not that we're trying to be lazy. It's not that we're trying to insult you. It's just that that's not what maybe works for us at that moment. And it's just reality that if we have tons of options and we see something, we're just going to keep going. That's just reality. It's not to hurt feelings. That's just the way that it is. You know, a lot of us just keep going until we find something. So I know I had a lot of feedback about that, and it's not to be offensive. Like, I love the producer community. If it wasn't for you guys making these beats, I would have nothing. You know, I don't personally make beats, so I would have nothing to go on. So I think it's just a lot of miscommunication. It's never, you know, intended to offend people. I'm just trying to give feedback when I'm saying this from my personal, you know, what I experience when I'm shopping for beats or when I'm on BeatStars and I'm looking around. So that's just me personally. It's never to be offensive. It's never a diss towards how you made the beat. It's just what I do personally. I'm going to keep looking until I find something that fits it, because I don't know how to perfect it and take it apart and do all those things personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point too, because I think I do agree with you, Jaelynn. I think like there's this idea that all artists know how to, you know, manipulate or, you know, change a beat. And then the other thing I think producers forget is a lot of times when people are leasing or buying beats online, like we're not getting the full stems. So it's a little bit harder to, you know, manipulate
True,
beats
yeah.
where we only have a wave file and a mastered wave file. So, you know, yeah, and that's coming from
Right.
somebody who like, you know, does engineer themselves, you know, like even I who like could manipulate a beat completely, you know, from the other end. It's kind of like, well, I can't really do much when it's just the wave file. You know, I can make drops, I can make spaces, I can move
Right.
things around, but you know, there's only so much you can do, and there's just to what you can do when you don't have the full exclusive. And I think it's imperative for, you know, artists like us that it's like, I think what we do is we set the tone. You know, I think we set the tone in terms of like we do good business, and I think that we continue to do good business, and I think that's how you kind of like you know, shorten or you know, resolve kind of this divide between producers and artists is just by doing good business. You know, I don't think everything's black and white. I think it's a lot of purple and blue and gray. So I think, you know, it's always like based on the situation and like who the artist is. And I think that producers also have to keep in mind too, like we do the same thing amongst ourselves, you know, amongst each other. You know, if I reach out for, you know, a feature from a friend, like another vocalist, and you send something that doesn't fit the song that I sent over, you know, then we're gonna probably have a conversation where it might be like, hey, we might need to like manipulate on your end, you know, some of these words and like move words around and restructure your writing so that the writing actually fits the feature. You know, we do the same thing as vocalists amongst each other when we reach out for features and things like that. So I think, you know, I don't I definitely can appreciate producers wanting artists to be able to, you know, do more, to want to work with artists that can do more. You know, I get that and I understand that. I think it's not fair to put that onto people. You know, I agree with you, just in the sense that like I don't think it's fair to put that onto people, especially when you're trying to sell beats. You know, because I think it depends on the relationship too that you have with the artist. Like some, you know, if you have a really good relationship with somebody and you have a specific way that you want to work and that you guys want to work, then by all means, you know, maybe communicate that with the artist. But if you're selling online and we have maybe, you know, maybe like one way of communicating with you, and the only communication we have has been like, hey, I bought your beat, you know, or like, or you saw me buy something on BeatStars, or you know, sent me a link and I just picked off the link that you sent and spent $50 and bought a quick, you know, little wave lease. Then I think, you know, maybe we, you know, let me buy the beat and do my thing, and you know, if you want to do more, then reach out to me and we can figure out a way that we can actually, you know, manipulate more of the beat or things like that. So I don't know.
So have either of you found yourself in a situation in which you reach out to the producer and ask them for some changes in a beat that you've either purchased exclusively or non-exclusively?
Absolutely. And I feel like I usually do the latter in terms of process too. I think I usually, when it's somebody that I don't have a relationship with already, you know, kind of my way of showing, you know, my initiative, right, is to actually like lease the beat, like, and then, you know, record something over it to actually send a tangible product to the producer and say, hey, I have this product and here are the specific, you know, modifications that I think would fit better with my voice. Do you think maybe you could, you know, focus specifically on these sections? Would you be willing to make changes to this song, to this beat? And then I think also, you know, providing vocals makes it a little bit easier on the producer to have something to kind of produce around. You know, if it's like we're making changes, it's kind of like, what am I changing around? And you know, because the changes are only happening because somebody, you know, bought a beat and needed something to fit more closely and cohesively with their voice. So I think like the only changes that should happen should come after I've already taken your idea and which is kind of how it's supposed to work, right? Like the producer made an idea that inspired an artist to, create lyrics that one they wanted to put on top of it. Then you created, a different version of the song, and essentially with off that inspiration. And then I reach out to producer following and kind of like, hey, this is what your beat inspired me to do. Is there any way that maybe we can, come together and put our brains together and just tighten this product up, because I think it's a valuable enough product to where we can put a little bit of extra work and kind of come together and now put our heads together and make sure that our visions align with, what this song could be. So,
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go.
No. I was gonna sidetrack things. So if you have a thought, please continue.
No, I was just going to add, I actually myself, I never have reached out after purchasing it to have anything like tweaked or moved around. I've always had somebody, well, minus one time separate than the producer, engineer it for me, or I've engineered it myself. So I've never actually done that, but it's good to hear from Lucian that like when you do that, you get good responses and they're productive with it. But yeah, personally, I've never done that.
Sometimes I get no response.
We're going to talk about that. We're definitely talking about that because Jaelynn did send me a DM recently that made me really sad. And so we're going to talk about that DM. Actually, it was yesterday. So I do want to talk about that. This is something I think about. I don't know if this is something that recording artists consider. Do you ever think that producers tend to be a little defensive or put up a lot of walls when working with recording artists, because traditionally producers have kind of been treated as afterthoughts, and now it's just kind of this cycle of abuse being perpetuated?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of disrespect thrown like both ways, even within, the producer community with your guys' selves. Like you guys, a lot of the time I notice like compete with each other, like if it makes sense, like, I don't know how to say it, like you're almost catering to another producer instead of the artist that's trying to purchase the beat for you. So there's all these discussions and debates and memes and fights back and forth. Like, like we discussed last time, if you use loops, you're lazy. If you use this or this or this. And I also had some feedback about how I had said last time that as, we don't really care. Some people said, yeah, people do care. But I think what I meant by that is if you find a beat that is just like epic, that is so good, like a legendary type beat, and you hear it and it fits and you love it, nobody stops, or at least I don't stop and say, I wonder if that has a loop in it, because if it does, I'm not messing with it. Like, no, nobody really stops in reality and does that. And people want to go more based on, Twitter fights and these things than reality. And when you try to bring up something that's realistic as an artist, like, hey, this is what I really feel, though, you get kind of attacked, and then it starts this big back and forth, and it's so unnecessary. Like, we both need each other, and telling a vocalist or a rapper that you're lazy for not doing this or not doing that or not editing the beat, that's like telling you guys, well, then you're lazy for not rapping on it yourself. Like, it's the same concept. Like, I don't know, I just think it goes, it's just, I don't know, it's a lot of back and forth and it's unnecessary. Like, we just need to appreciate each other more, open dialogues, talk more, build relationships, and then I think everything would be so much easier.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely this artist scorned kind of mentality, I think, a lot of times, which is understandable. I think we come to the industry and like, for some of us, especially from the Midwest, there's not a lot of mainstream, culture out here that we get to be a part of. So we kind of build our own, and we find ways to kind of collaborate with people that we think can give us the tools and resources necessary, so that when we do fly to LA, or we do fly to New York, or we do fly to London, we have the tools necessary to kind of compete within that realm, because we've, done something to kind of, sit within an environment that prepares you for, the speed at which that those sessions are happening and like that writing is happening. But I think that there's definitely this idea of like an artist scorned or a producer scorned. But I think, again, like just, going back to what I was saying earlier, I think it's imperative that people start to, base how they are feeling about things on the specific, situations and like who they're dealing with specifically. I think like if you do good business, there's no reason that we should be having, butting heads over business, because we communicate. And I think the number one tool to good business is communication. Always. I think the number one tool to, good relationships, period, is always communication. So as long as we're on the same page, I don't think that we should be butting heads for any reason. And again, I think there's also that thing that just goes back again to just, what relationship do you have with the artist that you're working with? If you put your stuff online, right? For us to just go grab, buy, and do whatever we want over it, I don't understand why there's, then all of a sudden this kind of weirdly controlling aspect of where like you need to swoop in and tell me how I was supposed to, approach your beat, because you put it online for anybody and everybody to buy it. And what you put online were the rules that I was, as the artist and the consumer, was supposed to adhere to for me to buy your beat, right? And more times than not, it's, pay this much. Here are your rights. Here's how you can sell it. Can you use the song for commercial profitability or not? Can you license it without splits? X, Y, and Z. That's me upholding my end of the bargain. As long as I'm not using your beat illegally outside of the bounds that you've, put forth, telling people how to use your beats and how they can use your beats based on what they've paid and purchased for your beats. After that, I don't owe anybody anything, right? Like I'm not responsible for you or to you, as long as I follow the guidelines respectfully that you've put out to make sure that your work is used in the manner that you needed it to be used. Then after that, you kind of gotta, you gotta let it go. And if you can't let it go, then like maybe you shouldn't be selling beats online, and maybe you should be focusing more on creating specific intimate connections with artists where you guys are working in-house. Like maybe you got some homies or like rappers or artists that in your hometown or wherever you're from that you would rather sit in the studio with and kind of be able to oversee or influence or help eke out the writing and the creation that's made over your beat. If that's what you want to do that. But when it comes to like people buying beats online that don't know you at all, I think producers, you kind of got to let go. And it's just that thing that we got to do it too, as artists. Like there are times where like we just have to let go because we've made the choice to sell to a consumer market. And when you do that, you got to let the product go and you got to let it do what it does. And people are going to come back with songs that are not as good. People are going to come back with great songs. Some people might make incredible songs that you will never hear, right? Because you just didn't even know that they existed and they didn't send you the song, right? So I think it's like people just got to let it go and let people, do what they do.
Yeah, I think what's dope about this conversation is it's getting a little bit uncomfortable. And I think that's good because we're in a realm where we're challenging ourselves in ways that we haven't before. I know I myself, when I heard you share your perspective on you upholding your side of the agreement, I feel that way all the time, and it's to me it's necessary, and I hate having a conversation with an artist where I feel like I'm convincing them that I've already done my part, and I don't personally know how to, other than having these really open and honest conversations where we're not attacking each other for our perspectives and our opinions. I think what you said was just very straightforward, and I don't know how anyone could debate the validity of what you said, which was, if I'm upholding my end of the agreed upon terms, I'm not doing anything wrong. And I've been in situations as a producer where I've had recording artists approach me and say, well, why won't you mix or promote my record or market my record? I paid for it. I paid for the beat. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not an engineer. I'm not a record promoter, and there's this automatic hostility, and it absolutely is on both sides. And it's an uncomfortable situation to have, because I really do think each of us, on the side of the recording artist and on the side of the producer, we're coming to the table. Some of us, probably not even the majority, but some of us are coming to the table with some kind of prior,
idea.
I guess I'll say trauma, like some kind of prior trauma, and that trauma is informing us as to how we're conducting business, and it shouldn't. But it's there. So talking about it is a good first step, and having these conversations with ourselves and saying, am I coming to the table as a producer? Before I type a response to this artist, why am I having an emotional reaction? Am I being unreasonable? Are they being unreasonable? What's the source of this? Is it confusion? Is it miscommunication? Is there something I can do to... Is there a resource? I know I'm going above and beyond, but is there a resource I can share with this person to help them see my perspective and vice versa, you know? So
I think it's that
it's a tough
we all
conversation.
always have our defenses up, you know, because like you said, we've
Absolutely.
all had some type of shady situation where somebody's, you know, done something to us that makes us that way. So in any interaction, I think on the producer side and the artist side, we're always at the first and foremost thinking, A, are we being scammed? B, is this person serious? Are they wasting my time? Are they, you know, so you go through all these like initial thoughts when you see these things, and I know that's understandable, but like you said, we kind of have to start to, like, on both sides, just take emotion out of it. Just, it's business, we're both trying to accomplish the same, you know, thing here. And, you know, just kind of open dialect, stop being sensitive, stop, just
Mhm.
talk to each other. I mean, we should respect each other mutually. We're, you know, we're
Well,
colleagues.
stop. You
And
were telling an artist to stop being sensitive.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Oxymoronic a little bit, I guess. But I
in
also
our
think,
feelings.
yeah, absolutely. But and there's the piece too. I think this is like understanding again, like I think the most important thing is understanding the relationship that you have with the artist. Like I record people. I own a business that records artists for a living, right? I don't sign I don't sign the artists that I record, right? I may sign somebody or publish somebody if I ever got to the point where like I owned a label and wanted to do that because that's something that I wanted, you know, my business to be doing. But again, like every person that comes to record here, I don't own their records, right? So it's kind of like the same mentality where like if we're having issues with how people are recording over things or using the space, right? It's understanding like, are you working with that artist like intimately? So what is the emotional attachment to something from
Right.
somebody that you don't know and are not working with, right? I think I'm seeing like a little bit in the comments of just a couple producers talking about like, all right, I come from a religious background and I'm a producer who makes beats, and then an artist comes on and writes lyrics that don't match my religious morals, right, and my religious viewpoints and things like that, and I can understand, right, how I can understand what the producer is saying in the sense of just like feeling like artists are putting things that they cannot promote, right? I think the first question to ask then is, do you have a relationship with that artist? Is that an artist that you are looking to promote, right? Because if it is, then maybe there could be a conversation with that artist, but are they on the same page? Like, did they know that? If it's just an artist that you don't know that just bought your beat, you know, randomly, I think it's unfair, right, for producers to be dictating and deciding how artists that they don't work with, you know, use their beat if you've put it online for consumer consumption, right? For if you've put it up there for people to book, buy, and use your services, again, like you just have to let the work, you know, let it be what it is, and like let artists do what they do over their beat. Like that's we're in the, you know, artistic realm. Like it's freedom of expression, right? So I think you have to let artists have that freedom of expression. And I think if there's an artist that you want to work with specifically, that you want to promote, that more coincides with your religious backgrounds, then by all means, right, work with that artist, and y'all can dictate what content is acceptable for them to be for you guys to be creating more intimately, because that's something that you're associating with your brand. But I think you don't have to associate every artist that's ever bought your beat with your brand, right? That's not your job either, producers, right? Like you don't have to promote the same way Payne is talking about artists hitting him up like, hey, I bought this beat and I expect promotion. Like that's not your job, right? That's not your job at all. The same way you know, when I buy a beat, I don't just expect that producer is gonna, like, you know, now be my best friend and we're gonna get in the studio together, right? Like we don't have that relationship. We've never spoken. And a lot of times you're buying beats from producers. You know, I've had producers when I first started that I bought almost every beat that they were putting out, but I had never spoken to them, right? And then the day that I reached out, right, there's no response, right? Why? Because they don't know me. They don't know me at all. So what I had to do was send a tangible product that would get their attention, because I was looking for something more, right? I was looking for a relationship with that producer, right? But then it's up to me to send a tangible product that makes that person want to do more than just allow me to buy their beats online. Then they start making custom stuff for you, right? And things like that. I think like it's just figuring out ways to segue into those relationships if that's what you want. But if you don't want a relationship with every artist you're selling to, then you got to let them do what they do.
Yeah, I agree. I also have like a little bit of feedback on the last part of what you just said there, though. Like as far as how you said you had bought several beats from a certain producer and then you went and reached out and they didn't respond because they didn't know you, you know. But at the same time, they should be able to keep track and see that you've bought all those beats and build that relationship. But you would think that they would want to, right? They would see you as like, okay, this guy came back, he's purchased my beats. and they would kind of want to themselves reach out and build that relationship because you're a returning customer, right? You're then business, you're a stream of revenue to them. So it's just surprising to me, I guess, when you said that like that person didn't reach out. And I've recently had the same experience. Like I've tried, a couple times to reach out to different producers on BeatStars. And I was telling DJ Payne yesterday, I have the worst luck. Like sometimes I don't get response, if at all, for weeks at a time. And then like the moment with the beat kind of had passed if I had a specific question about it. So I think like, I like what you were saying about that. If producers were, maybe it's just the ones I've dealt with too. I'm not saying all producers are this way, but to just be more responsive. If somebody does buy a beat from you, maybe take note of that. And then you as the producer, try to start a relationship as well. Cause I've never, it can kind of go both ways with that.
Let me pick you. You pushed my agenda.
Oh, sorry.
ahead a little, Jaelynn.
Dang it, Jaelynn.
Because you did. It was. I know. Damn it, man. Yesterday you did DM me, and like I said, that it was a DM that made me sad. You were trying to get a hold of a producer to buy a beat, and you wanted to know if their tag would be removed from the beat once you license it, and they weren't responding. So you were asking me if it was standard that, and like there really are no standards when it comes to that. So customer service, I would say at the very minimum, involves responding to your customers.
Period.
And that's still a concern for producers. So let me ask you this, Jaelynn, just to dovetail off that question. I think I used that term correctly, maybe not. What would be some ways that you as a returning customer to a producer could feel more appreciated by that producer?
Honestly, maybe just, and again, I don't want to sound like needy or entitled or anything like that, but maybe just like, if you see the person's bought more than one beat, for instance, I don't expect that if you sell a lot of beats that you can follow up with every single person consistently. But say you see a person like me, I had mentioned last time, that kid Goron, it's a guy that I found on BeatStars. I've purchased several beats. I'm not using him as an example because he's great, with response and everything like that. But being that I've purchased several beats, just like an email, like, hey, just checking in with you, wanted to see how your projects were going. Like, being that he's done that, it does make you feel like, okay, this producer's got good business sense, they actually care about their beats, where they're going, the projects. So that just in itself, like, honestly says a lot to the artist, at least me personally. Like, I thought that was really cool that he did that. So there's that. And then just response times, again, like being able, if you're not going to list things consistently, for us to know in the terms, like as far as like what we were talking about, if you're not going to list in the terms, this comes tagged, untagged, things like that, you always have to consider that the person doesn't know. Don't assume that anybody knows anything. That always assume that the person has no idea what they're dealing with. So for us, when we're viewing BeatStar pages, in those terms, if you can list, this one's tagged, this one comes untagged, things like that, it does help with us. And I know, like you had told me, if you get the one with the stems and stuff, you can always remove it yourself. But again, to me, I'm clueless. I wouldn't know offhand. I'm sure I could do it. It would take a little bit of research. I could then take the time and do that. But off bat, I don't know how to do that. So if you list in the terms for us, it makes it just more clear. And then that actually helps if you're going to have like a slower response time. That helps us know, because it's like little basic questions I'll have. And if they would have listed it, I would have bought the beat right then without needing them to respond. But there's times like this one in specific, that particular tag, I never usually am concerned with the tag. I've never had a problem. I leave them in. I know that's your guys', that's your guys' signature. I don't, have any qualms with them. But this particular one, for instance, it was in the worst spot. Are you laughing at me?
No, I'm laughing because I'm picturing this really loud, offensive tag. Just.
Oh yeah, well those I might have a little issue. Those are the ones I was talking about before, like something super duper obnoxious. No, but I mean, I know it's your guys' signature, so I don't usually have a lot of issues. This particular one though was right in a spot where like it just couldn't be it. It messed up what I was trying to do. So basically, I was trying to message this guy and ask him, if I purchase just the standard lease, is the tag removed? I really wanted to record right then, but it made a difference to me, because I had the downloadable version that I can just mess with, and that had the tag. So if I was going to buy it, I just didn't want it to be the same thing. You know what I mean? And so it's just things like that. It's going back to just list it in the terms if you have a slower response time, and that might help us. That might help you get more sales. Then we don't have to wait for you to respond to buy it, or things like that.
I'm also laughing because I feel like I have one of those super loud and obnoxious tags. I don't. Now I have the Drake drop that I got years ago, and that's just nice. It's Drake's voice. It's very calming. But it used to be this really loud, damn that hurt, and that was my DJ tag, but it's literally Shaw screaming, "Damn, that hurt!" loud as hell. And
Shout
to
out to
me,
Shaw.
that
somebody comes
right.
in with a soft melody, and it's yeah.
Well, I mean, that goes away once you make a purchase, but I even removed that and opted for the Drake tag just because if someone's downloading the free download, they don't want to be screamed at the whole time. So, and also I would get requests from recording artists who didn't like the profanity. And, for me, that the D word is not necessarily offensive, but to some it is. And so I had to take that feedback as a producer, and I didn't get offended and say, well, that's my tag. You can't tell me what to do. It was just like, I got to listen to the people that are supporting me.
And that's good.
But then
business.
the other thing, it's good business. And I want to pick up on something you said. Yeah, maturity and me do not often go together, but thank you for that. So I wanted to pick up on something you said, Jaelynn, because I think it was Dream Life that talked about doing this. Or maybe it was, I don't know who it was. Let's just say it was Dream Life because we love him and we want to give him all the credit, even if it's not something that should be attributed to him. There was a producer talking about how they created an FAQ section, and that they link that to their page, or that they included that link automatically in emails when anyone would download or license a beat. And they just compiled all of the most commonly asked questions, like, tagging, how does that get removed? Who knows? Whatever questions they were getting, because once you're in this space for long enough as a producer, you're going to start seeing some patterns. Producers are going to start rappers are going to start asking you similar questions. So you can just preempt that by creating an FAQ. I thought that was a good idea, and it sounded like something that you would have appreciated. So speaking of
absolutely.
free downloads, because I mentioned that, Mike Trampy was on here and he was encouraging BeatStars users to use the free download function. And I've been doing this for a while, and my reasoning is that if I give out a free tagged MP3 download, rappers will be able to listen and record demos to the beats and are more likely to buy them because they've heard themselves over them, and they're in love with the song, not just the beat. Is that something that the two of you appreciate from producers?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I do. Yeah, definitely. I do. Basically, I think all except maybe one or two, I've used the downloadable version just to kind of do a run through and make sure it's going to fit with me before I purchase it. So it's really helpful, and I would definitely suggest using it. And like you were saying about the frequently asked questions, that's a really good idea. Like anything to me that I notice on a page that's different, or honestly is really helpful, or like, having, again, separating, like we were talking about before, if you do type beats, that's your thing, then, maybe have different sections, like, this is beat per minute, like 70, 90, 100, whatever they are, and have them sectioned, or different moods, genres, like different things I've noticed where the page is organized, or like you said, frequently asked questions, that's a bonus, things like that, where we can just find things easily on your page and go to different things like that. That's a big plus. And that's another thing, like for one of the producers that I go to on BeatStars, that's how his page is. And he's really responsive. He has something similar to that on his page, the FAQ section. So yeah, all those things are pluses. Just little things make a big difference.
Absolutely. I feel like anything you need to be accessible to your consumer base is like kind of how you need to do it. Whether that's an FAQ section, whether you got 3 songs and you answer every one of them, whether you like I've had producers who specifically communicate with their customers through email for the most part, but I still like very responsive on email. I think it's like it really comes down to whatever you need to be the most communicative with your consumer base is like what you need to do. So if it's an FAQ section, by all means. But I do agree with Jaelynn. I think and it depends. Obviously, it varies by like I think the degree of artist that you have in terms of like what people want to see. But I definitely like as a more I would say like advanced recording artists at this point, because I've been doing it for so long, having like BPMs and tempos and things like that like are really beneficial because I'm going in and again I'm looking at it from a vocal production standpoint too, which is like I know what energy vibe I need because I've been recording for so long. So like I know if I need a 160 versus a 148 versus a 98 BPM beat. All right. And so like if I know what energy I'm trying to emulate, I'm gonna go through it. Like right now I'm doing an EP. And like the majority of it is kind of like heavier more like energetic trap kind of like, you know, influence vibes. So like I'm really in like the 160s right now, like 150 to 160s. So I think like when I go on to, you know, looking for beats, looking for more beats, even when I get sent packs, you know, they might be incredible beats, but I'm skipping over everything that isn't in like the 140 to 160 range, and 140 at like the lowest at this point. So I think like if you have those kind of things as well as like keys, so like for me, like I know how to, you know, I know how to hear a beat and like find the key by ear on a keyboard and like match my auto tune, and like those are just mixing things, right? But not everybody can do that. So I think people have to also remember that like all artists don't have the tools to like key match, right? And like tempo match. Like some people don't know how to do that. So providing those things makes it a lot easier, you know, for people to not only like, you know, figure out what vibe they want as well as like purchase the beats that they want, but also, you know, from a production standpoint as a vocalist, like it gives the artist an opportunity to think, you know, come to the beat and approach the beat thinking of it from the engineering standpoint of like, how can I set up my session to get the, you know, most clean recording over it. So when you guys provide like tempos and tempos and key matches like that, it's really important. I believe it's important, and it's been very helpful for sure. And just like me being able to be efficient and productive. So, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, BPMs is a big thing. I haven't noticed a lot of people that like if you go on their page, they kind of separate it that way. Like to me, I would think it would be something different, maybe an idea like, you know, put all your beats that are in that range here listed, all the beats that are in this range listed. Or if you do like type beats and say you make a lot of, for instance, Mac Miller type beats, have them, you know, them listed here by type. You know, if you make
Right, exactly.
a lot of two certain artists, you make a lot of those type beats, we'll have them all under one spot so that we're not scrolling through like, here's a Mac Miller type beat and then it goes to something like, you know, completely opposite, and you're, you know, if you put them all like categorized, just like putting a little bit of time into it and like maybe just look at it like as if you were an artist scrolling, like, you know, just put yourself on the other side. And it's not to criticize or say that what you're doing isn't good enough, it's just to help you make sales. Like maybe just taking a little bit of extra steps or little times or making your page a little different than somebody else's, because I haven't seen many where it goes by, you know, BPMs or each artist individually Mac Miller type, or if it's a vibe, you know, R&B vibes or whatever, all in one section. That makes it, I mean, that's an idea.
And some people
that's
do moods too, like, you know, which
yeah,
are
I
really
like moods.
beneficial when it's like dark or like energetic or you know chill vibe or like whatever, you know, that stuff works too really well for people. So, you know,
yeah, and you can do that. BeatStars has playlist options, they have album options, and so you can put all of your faster beats in a playlist, or your more energetic beats in a playlist, that kind of thing, or your you know, your chill beats in a playlist.
Right. Yeah. Because like Lucian was saying, we know basically going in, like if we're going to do like a ballad and a slower type song, you know, we're not going to be shopping around in the 140, 150 BPM range. We're going to be more, you know, down 70, 60, 80, whatever, you know.
Exactly.
So like he said, you're going to skip over that, not because they're not good beats, because at that moment you're looking for, you know, a slower BPM. So again, having them categorized that way might make you more sales. I mean, I know it would be easier for us to find that way. So.
Absolutely. And I think just real quick before I know we move on to something else, but I think as a songwriter too, producers, you know, we do the same thing. Like when I send demos for other artists, you know, I think there's other piece to it is that like we also send, you know, part of the effect of like sending a verse and a hook, right, is that there leaves an open verse for an artist, because like I am an artist that like if I was in the studio and I, you know, was having somebody write for me and submit demos that, you know, were for me, if I had a verse and a hook, it would allow me the open space to kind of mumble to the beat, you know, and kind of vibe out, you know, based on whatever the artist who had written, you know, had left open, right? So it gives you a chance to hear something, hear an idea, be influenced by that, and then have an open space where, you know, there's space for me to hear myself on it, right? So I think it's just going back to what we were talking about earlier, with just like, you know, providing things that let the artist be able to actually like hear themselves on the beat, which generates more sales, right? We do the same kind of things as songwriters. Like if I want somebody to buy a song I've written, I need to provide, you know, not only a very well done idea, but also provide a space in which they can, you know, be in the studio vibing to that idea and then let it blend with their own. The only way that you can sell music in this market that I've learned is by making a product that someone wants to take and make their own, right? That's how you sell. And that's beats, songs, right? Sweaters, right? Merch, like touring, whatever. Like people want to make an experience of their own with whatever product or service you're selling. That's the key. So if you can figure out how to make a product, service, or situation that people can have their own experience within it, but it's like very clearly influenced by whatever life experiences you've had, right? That's creating creation at its finest. And when you learn how to do that intentionally, that's when you're at the point where you've put in your 20, 30,000 hours, and now you're in a position to where now you don't miss, right? And that's just that 20, 30,000 hours of recording where you get to the point where it's like you are so in tune with your market that you know what I can put out, that a general, not everybody will mess with it, but it's like I can put something out that multiple demographics of people can relate to and then have a life experience with, right? Why does Drake sell so many records? Because Drake is the most relatable commercial hip hop artist we have ever seen. That's why, right? Because people from so many demographics can listen to his songs and be like, you know what? I've been through that. I feel that. I understand that, right? That's why he sells the records that he does, is because he is so in tune with his demographic that he's creating a product that is relatable to so many people. Now he's selling across multiple demographics. You can't confine someone like that to hip hop. You can't confine someone like that to this specific niche market of a sound, right? Now it's like he can put out anything he wants, and be experimental, right? And sell. So, I mean, just food for thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me here's a question that came in. It's an interesting question. How did you find out about BeatStars, and do you think artists keep looking for new producers to work with actively?
Yes, I do. I look for new producers all the time. I'm constantly browsing beats. Even, I mean, I have a lot that I've already, on deck in case I need them. But if I'm going and I find Paloma, please, I'm sorry, my dog is like on me. But no, I'm constantly browsing. And if I find one, like say a certain beat comes up, I'll search that whole producer's catalog. Like if I like a beat, I will click right on the producer and I'll go through all their songs. So yeah, we're definitely actively on there. I mean, me personally, I can't speak for everybody, but me, I'm on there all the time looking. So, and I just found it.
And when you jump to their page, right, you're looking for consistency. It's like, all right, I found this beat I like, so I'm going to see if there are more like this beat that I like, and then what else do you have too, right?
Yeah, and that goes back to that. Like, it would be awesome if right when you went to the page, it was kind of categorized like easy to find certain things. Like, cause say the first beat I come across happens to be, I always use this as an example because I love him, but Mac Miller, say it's a Mac Miller type beat. So then that's the vibe I'm looking for. Obviously, if I'm going to click on it in that moment, I go to your page, boom, then right there you have, Mac Miller, then you scroll down, then you have different artists, different vibes, whatever it is you like to do, but just, break it down. If you like, again, if you go by type beats, have all the beats underneath the artist that you're doing the type beat of right there, each, things like that. But yeah, definitely we're looking, I'm looking all the time. So
here's a question that I didn't get to ask the last session, but somebody did ask it. Beats with hooks, is that something that the two of you intentionally seek out?
No. At least from my end, I mean, it's like this. If the beat is the beat, if it's a good beat and it's good production, right? Again, I don't feel like everything is black and white. I'm shaking my head like, nah, I'm not looking for that, because I'm not. That doesn't mean if I find a beat with a hook on it, I won't. If the beat means enough to me and I feel like I can hear something on it, I will find a way to get it and get it in a way that matches what I need it for. So if I hear a beat that happens to have a hook on it that I absolutely adore, I'll figure out a way to reach out to the producer. Hey, can we just remove the hook, right? Can you just take out the vocals? What do you need from me to purchase the beat in a way that will, allow you or get you or give you some incentive to then make modifications to the beat? If that's I need to pay for a wave leash, if that's I need to pay for an exclusive beat, if that's I need to just pay for a standard, if you want to just do it for free because I reached out that you actually went and checked out my page, you're like, oh, this is tight, like I would kind of want to work with this person, like whatever the case may be. If the beat means enough to me, I will find a way to get it, and I'll find a way to get it for what I need it for. And that's just my honest, I think. But I'm not usually looking for beats with hooks. I usually like to come, I wouldn't say a blank canvas, because I feel like the production is already supposed to hold its own weight, and somebody has already done so much of the work to get it to a point that would want me to leave me to be inspired by whatever they've created. But I definitely like to come to something that has empty vocal space for sure, just because I feel like that's the realm that I put a lot of time into, and just need that to be able to, more so for the sense of just like I need to be able to think and figure out like where I want to take that beat, and I need it to not be influenced by anybody, especially not any vocalist that, like, I don't know. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then another spin on that is also sometimes when you're like having a writing block, like say you have some good lyrics, but you just can't come up with the hook or concept. They're just kind of like free flowing lyrics. at those certain times, beats with hooks come in clutch. Like for me in particular,
Absolutely.
I agree with him. Like pretty much when you're browsing, most of the time you already have a concept. So, well, at least me personally again. Um, so I'm not as often looking for a beat with a hook, but sometimes they do. They come in so clutch because I just can't like come up with one, or I have writer's block and I have again notebooks full of lyrics. And so
Right.
sometimes I'll hear a beat with a hook and it fits something I've already written. Like, oh shit, like I have this song I wrote and that's perfect for it. And I didn't have a hook for it. So it just kind of depends on, again, the mood that day or what that person's looking for. There's a lot of people who constantly, have writer's block and can't come up with a hook. So it again, it depends. It goes back and forth. I like them sometimes, but they're not majority what I'm looking for. Because like Lucian said, kind of a blank canvas, having something to put your own hook and your own vibe over is usually, what I'm going for. But they are clutch sometimes. So
I knew
depends.
I knew that would be an interesting question for the two of you because the two of you are pretty experienced hook writers. I hear a lot of music where the person singing the hook maybe shouldn't be singing the hook. So it's the same way with me with graphic design. Sometimes I'll make graphics and I look at them and I think, yeah, I
Maybe
shouldn't
not.
I shouldn't have done that. I need to outsource. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think there is this notion that beats with hooks sell better, and in my experience, I don't have an answer for that. I make a lot of beats. I have great writers that record hooks, and some people love them. Some people opt for the version without the hook. Who knows, right?
Right.
Everyone's different.
I think it's
Yeah.
it's cool of you as a producer if you do want to sell more beats though. I think like adding variety, right, and not being focused on, does this make it so it sells more? I think just having everything, right? You have beats with hooks, you have beats without hooks. Like you have, you know, this tempo, this genre, multiple different genres. You're multi versatile. Like that essentially will. I think there's a thing in this market that people have to remember that has to do with sales, and I think we talked about this a little bit last time. But I think that sales just means, right, for anybody that's ever, and if you're in this market, you're in sales. Like you need to just accept that right now, that if you are in the music business, you are in sales because you are going to
Right.
sell a product or a service or a skill. That's just what it is. So I think when you accept, then you approach it from the mathematical standpoint, which is just like the more pitches you have, the more successes you have. So if you have 150 or beats online, as opposed to somebody who has 1,000 beats online, I think that the person with 1,000 beats, unless they're absolutely atrocious, which after making 1,000 beats, I don't know how you could still be atrocious because you've put in so much time. But obviously they're outliers. But I think like if you have 1,000 beats online, there's no reason why you haven't sold at least 10 to 20% of that, right? That at least you haven't at least sold, or people haven't bought leases from at least 20% of your catalog when you have that much volume online. So I think as a producer and as a songwriter, as a vocalist, right? Why do you think people like Future, right, have dropped 8 albums in a year, right? It's about pitches, because what he understands as a salesman is within all of those pitches, at least one of those songs has to be a big quote unquote hit record, right? So I think if you're a producer, it's the same thing where it's like the more you have online, the more you give up to have, people from different demographics that want different things coming to your page and purchasing, right? So that you offer variety, so that you can you're growing your net, you're expanding your net, right? And I think that the net is the most important thing if you're in the market of selling beats or selling songs, right? If you want to sell volume, you have to put volume online. It just gives you more pitches. That's it. And more pitches means more successes. So I would definitely, put beats up with hooks, put beats up without hooks, right? Make trap beats, make conscious hip hop beats, make Mac Miller beats, make chill beats, make, con beats, whatever the case may be, put them all online, and then let people decide what they want.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's something unique to producers that like we can't do as artists. So like we can't, like as an artist, if I tried to, do pop one day and then rock and then country and then like that's something really unique, and I think is a blessing to you guys. Like you can make all different types and you're catering to different artists. Like that's giving yourself an opportunity to work with different genres of artists, so never I would say, like what Lucian said, experiment with different genres, put anything, put different stuff out, put lots and lots of different beats, because that's giving people, different types of artist options. So I definitely agree with that. Like for producers, the more beats you have out there, the just categorize them, like kind of organize it, like we were talking about before. But other than that, yeah, the more the merrier, because when we're browsing your catalogs, it's nice to have, a lot of options there. So
And you really do have the luxury of being able to just throw a bunch at the board. Like, we can't come up with random stuff and not have people look at us sideways. Like, what is this? Like, what are you
right? Yeah. Definitely.
The Drake comes up again. So here's a question about beat pricing. You see a lot of I see a lot of producers lowering their prices as a tool for competing in the marketplace. Do rappers want super low prices, or do super low prices sometimes make you skeptical as buyers?
They make me sometimes skeptical. It depends. I mean, if it's a producer I've already worked with and you throw, a discount on your beats, awesome. But when it's just random people and you've never built a relationship with them, they've never even spoken to you. Again, we talked about this before too, and they slide in your DM with a, hey fam, here's 50 beats for $6. Like, I'm not even going to click that. I have no desire at all to even look at what it is, but so it just depends. Like if you're doing that and you're just dropping your links everywhere, again, here's another thing that goes back to that, like that will make me never ever look at you as a producer, is dropping your links on somebody else's project. Even if I see you do it to another producer that posts a beat and you go and drop your link, like that's like going into a restaurant and bringing your own food. It's rude. It's, so that's another thing like that I just had to bring up. Do not drop your links on other people's projects. It will make me never click on it.
It's like going to a restaurant and bringing your own food and trying to sell it to customers who are already
the worst.
There you go. It's like, hey, don't look at their project, look at mine. Like that's there's something, you should never do that. That's bad business. It's just rude.
The worst.
It's the worst, yeah. Or to like, so again, if you're sliding the DM with 50 beats for $6, we've never spoke, and it's a hey fam, I'm definitely never clicking it. It does make me skeptical. But if if you've built relationships with somebody, to offer them, maybe go to them specifically, or good customers, and give them something in the DM, like here I have, this discount, this for these beats. Yeah, that's much appreciated. But so I guess it just depends, on how you're presenting it, who you're presenting it to, things like that.
Yeah. So how does pricing influence your decision to purchase?
Me personally, it kind of depends on what I've always purchased, basically, honestly, the standard leases, because I'm not sure, so I don't think I would spend personally over $50, $55 for a standard lease. And I know that's very specific, but that's just my budget. It's nothing disrespectful to anybody's like art, to what they've created. It could be worth, much, much more than that, but that's kind of my budget. That's kind of where I cap for a standard lease. I won't personally spend more than $50 on a standard lease. I've seen some that are more than that are definitely worth it. The creativity is there. The producer deserves all of that. It's just a lot of people can't afford it. So I think kind of making it, especially in this time right now, a little bit more affordable is going to sell you more. But again, it's your guys' art. You can't really ask somebody to discount something that they worked so hard on. So we talked about that last time. I used the negotiation button once, and it didn't go well for me. Like I felt humiliated, like as if I insulted that producer, which was so not my intention. Like I presented him with what I had to spend and negotiated, and I could tell he got offended, and I'll never use that button again personally, because it all goes back to that. Like we don't ever want to offend you. And
I love that button.
Do you see? Like I'm scared away from it because of that particular experience.
I mean, look, some people will. I don't know if they're just being assholes, but I'll get like the $2
sometimes, brother.
Oh, see, that's just disrespectful. That's just asshole rude. Like, no, I would never do that. But
but if it's like I want to save $10, $15, I'm like,
which is what I did. Like this particular day, I had like, this is literally all that I could spend that day. And I love the beat. I have other beats, but I came across this beat and I was like, yeah, I have to have it. So this is what I had to offer. That's exactly what I did. But again, I left that situation feeling like, and then I second guessed myself. Like I stepped back and I thought, wow, Jenny, like that was really rude. Like you offended, like you kind of took what they created and downgraded it, and maybe that was insulting to him. And then I had to like step back and really think about that, and it bothered me. Like for half the day I felt super bad about that. So, and then going forward now, I've kind of thought more about it. I'm like, it's not if he got sensitive and in his feelings, that's kind of partly his fault also, like now looking back on it. But again, I'm scared off that button. I won't do it. But me personally, that's my cap. Like I won't spend more than probably around $50 for a standard lease, basically.
No, don't be scared of that button, please.
Yeah, definitely do not be scared of the negotiation button if you really need to. And I also think just piggybacking, I think like on the reverse side of that, you as a producer have in your head, you know, and I don't may not know you, right? And you're gonna have, you know, whatever information you use, whatever your circumstances is that you used, you know, your whatever your situation is that made you price your beat in a certain way. Part of me also has to let you stand on that too, right? Because
Right.
you came up with that price based on whatever you valued your own work at, and I don't know you. So I
Right.
think it also comes down to the same way when you're in the shoe shop, right? There's a lot of crazy looking shoes, right? When you're at Foot Locker, Adidas, DSW, like wherever you're at, right? There's a lot of crazy shoes. And I think anybody's job is to find what they like, but also what they like that coincides with what they can afford. So I
Right.
think like if it comes down to it and like I'm absolutely in love with a beat, right? If it's worth it to me and I can do it, reach out to the producer, maybe see, you know, I'll ask, right? Because it's kind of like closed mouths don't get fed. So I'll ask, hey, can we get this price down? If not, it leaves it up to me to, you know, figure out, is this beat worth it enough for me to match the price that the producer is asking for? I don't argue with producers about what they've set their price at, though, and I want to make that very clear. And that's at least me, and I'm pretty sure Jaelynn doesn't either. Is not going to argue with you. She might pass.
Yeah.
I might pass the beat and say, "Oh, you know, I just can't do it right now." Like but you know, it's a respect thing where it's like you get to price what you want to price your product at, and it's up to me, you know, to see if I can get you to wiggle down. Because again, that's sales, right? So I think on the flip, you know, producers, if you have artists trying to negotiate, be open to that. It's okay to say no. Right? Again, it's just about good business and communication. And I'm going to stand on that until the day I'm put in a casket. Good business and communication is what is important, right? If you don't want to sell a beat to me at a price that I'm trying to negotiate down to, just say no. Hey, man, I can't do it. And to be honest with you, I'll respectfully be like, you know what? You're standing on yours and on your price, and I can respect that as a businessman. So it's like, okay, stand on that, right? But if you can come down and are willing to come down, do that, but don't leave it up to, you know, kind of these like backhanded emotional responses, or then come to me like because you also don't know my situation, right? Because you'll have some producers kind of come to you like you're this broke ass like goofy rapper dude, you know. That's not
Yeah.
the
Or
case, right?
screenshot you and post it
Right?
to humiliate you. Like, look at
You
this
know,
clown asked me,
you know
you
what
know,
I'm
so
saying?
that's,
Like
yeah.
you don't know what I put my money up towards. You're not in my back end, right? You don't know what I do. You don't know who I'm responsible for. So I think it's
Mhm.
on the other side, just this idea of bashing each other for what people can do is not okay, right? I think we just have to respect what people can do and what they can afford. So if you set your beats at a certain price, I will respect that, right? Just tell me you can't go lower or can't go, just you know, just stand on it, right? I will respect that over anything instead of like no responses or these back-ended responses, right? It's the same thing as if you're in a shoe store, right? I like these shoes, I can or can't afford them. That's a choice that's put on me as the consumer, and that's my job. That's not your job as the producer to figure out or to have to deal with me being angry because I can't, you know, buy the pair of shoes that I walked into here with no money to buy, right? Like that's on me, right? And that's all has to do with anything that I have going on my end. So I feel like producers, when you put a price up, stand on your price, right? Artists, if you can negotiate, try to respectfully. And if it seems like the producer doesn't want to come down or you can't afford the beat, then it's okay to just leave it at that, right? And then maybe come back to that producer depending on, again, I think people also forget, or like they kind of move around the idea of like a pitch now that doesn't go your way doesn't mean it won't be a return customer later. So like if you do good business and have a good interaction, whether I buy a beat today or not, I might not be able to afford a beat today. But if you're a producer that has a great selection of beats, the day that I have some money for beats, what's to say that I won't come back and actually use that money to go to your site, right? And invest in your site. So if you have good communication and you do good business, right? I might not purchase a beat today, but you could be creating a customer for 6 months from now. You have no
Right.
idea, right? But people, you know, some people go to shop around because they're looking for sounds. They're not looking to purchase right away. And so I find a producer, and part of why I'm reaching out is to be like, hey, what do you price if I need, I don't know, a custom beat, if I need a full track track out so that I, on my back end, if I'm ready to do an album, I can budget. Hey, I know this producer will sell me 6 beats for, you know, $1,000 for all the track outs and exclusive. When I'm doing an album next quarter, that might make me come back to you over all of the people that all of the rest of the producers on my list, because you communicated that, did good business. And at the time I couldn't buy 6 beats up front, but when I got the budget for my album, I could. So I think like it's always imperative that you stand on your price. If you can go down and can come down and want to, you know, meet artists halfway, do that. If not, it's okay to say no. And artists are just going to have to accept the fact that like, if you can't afford the beat, you can't afford the beat, right? Like that's cool, also, right? You just gotta let it go.
And also take it as like I know we gotta go, so I'm in a hurry, but I also think of it like this, like something I wanted to tell producers: don't take it offensive if you do get that negotiation button. It's not us, again, me personally, I can only speak for me, but it's not us trying to insult you or say that it's not worth what you're asking. Sometimes people just literally, that's all they have. Like I look at it like this: like if someone were to hit me up and say, I mean, I know I can't authorize that, but just saying, like, for instance, I know you're, you know, to buy your song on Apple iTunes, it's 99 cents. I only have 50. Like, I would just take it as a compliment that they even wanted to, you know, that they liked the song enough and they wanted to buy it. I wouldn't take it offensively that, like, you know, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just how you have to look at it. Like, please
like
don't
I'm
take
trying to
offense.
give you my last, like,
right. Like I like your song so much that I have 50 cents and I would spend it on your song. I know you're asking 99, but dude, I really love it. Here's what I have. Would you be willing to? So like maybe if you do encounter that, just don't look at the person as a bum or, oh my God, Tyra. Or, you know, or things I've seen, like, just know that may just honestly be all they have to work with, like, and they're willing to spend it on your beat. So that was just one more thing I wanted to slide in there. Like, don't take it offensively.
Well, I have a lot of questions left, and so do the people, and I know that we're already at the end. So,
and I'm sorry I didn't do the chat. I can't figure that shit out. Like, I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Part 3.
No, it's fine. Well, we'll. Okay, part 3. Yes, part 3. Okay, so we're gonna do part 3. I'm gonna save my 8+ questions.
These are amazing. I only had to.
Now everyone's imagining.
I do have pants on. I mean, I have pants
like, what
on.
But is she wearing clown shoes? Or what is she wearing?
I got my mom's sweats on actually, but yeah, no, I didn't get dressed from the waist down. This is amazing. I love this. I could do this all day.
No, I never do.
That's awesome.
And I know no one cares. I never. The OnlyFans did try to recruit me recently. But not for that. I like this. Because I have ridiculous looking slippers on that I borrowed from my girl. Like, no one knows.
Yeah,
now they know because I told them.
I have 2 different colored socks on, so it's okay. Hey, you're fine.
And
2 different styles
everywhere.
and colors. Yeah, and cat and dog and Dr. Doolittle over here.
All right, so part 3. Once again, thank you both for joining. Quickly, shout out your social media and any places that people can check out your recent projects.
I'm pretty much Jaelynn across the board now. I fixed that issue I had, so I'm Jaelynn everywhere. Jaelynn _415 on Instagram. Jaelynn everywhere.
Boom, boom. And I put my ad is at Lucian _Parker, and I kind of just stole it from Pain One and kind of put my name in the chat as my at, just so people could, you know, take it from there if they need to. But yeah, feel free to find me wherever.
That's smart. I put a yoga chick, so that didn't help me any.
Well, but yeah, now people know that
3 emojis
that you're centered. Once again, thank you both.
The worst part is I suck at yoga, so that's the ironic part. But
it's like,
thank you.
It's like
yoga's a journey.
Out, and then a yoga emoji, like all in one thing. Like you got like 3 different versions of you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm an emoji freak. It's weird. Can I get down, please? Oh,
how many cats do you have?
I have just 2. One? I have Tyra Banks and Meredith Grey.
My cat used to do that more. She's knocked out because I bought her. You live in California, but I'm in Wisconsin, and she has a heated house, so she just knocks out.
Ooh, that's
but
bad.
It's funny because when Angel Ray, who's in the chat,
I love her.
She's also, yeah, shout out to her. She's also a nominee for a BeatStars award.
Yes, I voted for you, by the way, and DJ Payne and Bufo. I don't know if I'm saying that name right, but those are the 3 people I voted for. So
yeah, Bufo's in the chat too, saying things about my cat. But whenever we have our closed sessions, she'll always type kitty, and that's how I know my cat is doing something crazy behind me, which she often does. Sometimes she'll come down the stairs like a cannonball. I don't know. That's not what we're about right now. So let's close this out. Remember, BeatStarsAwards.com is where you vote, and also BeatStars.com.
Vote.
BeatStars.com/opportunities is where you submit to playlist and that new duets, duet beats on TikTok. That profile, you can submit your beats there as well. So check all of that out. We'll join you next week, but then we're also planning part 3. So I'll have Jaelynn and Lucien Parker again. Shout out to the cat, and peace to all of you in the chat. Had a great time with all of you. That's
Thank
what
you
we're
guys
gonna
so
have to
much
do
for
it again.
tuning in. And
Thank
peace,
you
man.
for tuning in. Yes.